Hi, welcome to Lies and Secrets channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. I never thought I'd be one of those moms who goes all out for their kid's birthday, but here I am hanging streamers and blowing up balloons like my life depends on it. It's Luna's 10th birthday today, and I'm determined to make it special. Our little apartment in downtown Seattle isn't much, but I've done my best to transform our living room into a colorful party zone. As I tape another balloon to the wall, I can't help but think about my own childhood birthdays or lack thereof. Growing up, we never had the money for parties or presents. My parents were always struggling to make ends meet, and birthdays were just another day on the calendar. I promised myself that when I had kids, things would be different. I stepped back to admire my handiwork, feeling a mix of pride and anxiety. The decorations aren't fancy, just some dollar store streamers and a happy birthday banner, but it's more than I've ever been able to do before. Luna's been asking for a real birthday party for the past year, and I couldn't bear to disappoint her again. Cake sits on the Kit Alexander counter, a simple chocolate affair with Happy 10 Birthday Luna written in wobbly pink icing. I'm no baker, but I stayed up late last night to make it from scratch. It's not perfect, but I hope Luna will appreciate the effort. I glance at the clock and feel a flutter of nerves in my stomach. Luna's friends will be arriving soon, and there's still so much to do. I rush to the bedroom to wake her up, gently shaking her shoulder. "Rise and shine, birthday girl," I say, smiling. As she blinks sleepily at me, Luna's eyes widen as she remembers what day it is. She bolts upright, her messy brown hair sticking up in all directions. "Is it time for my party?" she asks, practically vibrating with excitement. I laugh, feeling my heart swell with love for this little ball of energy. "Not quite yet, sweetie. We've got to get you dressed and ready first. Your friends will be here in an hour." As Luna scrambles out of bed, chattering a mile a minute about her expectations for the day, I feel a pang of guilt. I know this party is stretching our budget to the breaking point. I had to dip into our emergency savings to pull it off, but seeing the joy on Luna's face makes it worth it, or at least that's what I tell myself. While Luna gets dressed, I finish setting up the snacks, just some chips, popcorn, and fruit punch. Nothing fancy, but it'll do. I can hear Luna singing to herself in her room some pop songs she's been obsessed with lately, and I can't help but smile. The doorbell rings and Luna comes tearing out of her room, her hair now neatly braided, a skill I've finally mastered after years of practice. "They're here," she squeals, bouncing on her toes. I open the door to find Lily, Luna's best friend, standing there with her mom Amelia. Lily's holding a brightly wrapped present, and Amelia gives me a warm smile. "Happy birthday, Luna," Lily says, handing over the gift. Luna takes it, reverent, her eyes wide. "Thank you, come in, come in." As the girls disappear into Luna's room, Amelia lingers in the doorway. "Isabella, the place looks great," she says, her eyes taking in the decorations. "You've really outdone yourself." I feel a flush of pride mixed with embarrassment. "Oh, it's not much," I say, waving a hand dismissively. "Just wanted to do something special for Luna this year." Amelia nods, understanding she knows about our financial struggles. She's been a good friend and neighbor since we moved to this apartment complex 3 years ago. "Well, I think it's wonderful. Luna's going to remember this forever." More kids start arriving, and soon our small apartment is filled with the sound of laughter and excited chatter. I busy myself with organizing games and handing out snacks, trying to keep everything running smoothly. It's chaotic and a bit overwhelming, but seeing Luna's face light up with each new activity makes it all worthwhile. As I'm cutting the cake, my phone buzzes in my pocket. It's a text from Liam, my husband, running late. "Traffic. Be home soon." I frown at the message. Liam knew how important today was. He promised he'd be here to help set up, but I pushed the thought aside. No use dwelling on it now. I've got a room full of sugar-fueled 9-year-olds to entertain. Party flies by in a blur of games, presents, and sugar highs before I know it. Parents are arriving to pick up their kids, and Luna is surrounded by a small pile of gifts. She's beaming, her cheeks flushed with excitement as she says goodbye to her friends. As the last guest leaves, Luna throws her arms around my waist. Mom, that was the best party ever, she exclaims, looking up at me with shining eyes. Thank you so much. I hug her back, feeling a lump form in my throat. You're welcome, sweetie. I'm so glad you had fun. Luna yarns the excitement of the day, finally catching up with her. Can I play with my new toys for a bit before bed? I nod, and she scampers off to her room, leaving me alone. With the aftermath of the party, I start cleaning up, gathering paper plates and popped balloons, my mind wandering to Liam's absence. He should have been here hours ago. Just as I'm finishing up, I hear the jingle of keys in the lock. Liam stumbles in, looking disheveled and smelling faintly of beer. My heart sinks so much for traffic. Hey! He grunts, tossing his keys on the counter. His eyes scan the room, taking in the remnants of the party. Looks like I missed all the fun. I try to keep my voice neutral, not wanting to start an argument. Yeah, it was a great party. Luna had a wonderful time. Liam nods absent, then freezes, his gaze locked on something behind me. I turn to see what is looking at and feel my stomach drop. The drawer where we keep our emergency cash is slightly open, with a few bills peeking out. Isabella, Liam says, his voice low and dangerous. Why is the money drawer open? I take a deep breath, steeling myself. I had to use some of it for the party. It was just a little bit. And dash you what? Liam interrupts, his face darkening. He strides over to the drawer and yanks it open quickly, counting what's left. Are you kidding me? You spent our savings on this? I feel my defenses rising. It was for Luna's birthday. Liam, she deserved a nice party for once. Liam slams the drawer shut, making me flinch. How am I supposed to go out with my friends? Now you're unbelievable. Before I can respond, he takes a step towards me, his hand raised. I see it coming, but I'm too shocked to move. The slap lands hard across my cheek, the force of it sending me staggering back into the table. The leftover cake wobbles, the candles that I never got around to putting away toppling over for a moment. Everything is silent. I press a hand to my stinging cheek, my mind struggling to process what just happened. Liam has always had a temper, but has never hit me before. Never. Luna's voice breaks the silence. Mom, she calls from her room, sounding scared as everything. I clear my throat, trying to keep my voice steady. Everything's fine, sweetie, just knock something over. Go back to your toys. Liam steps closer, his voice low and menacing. You're going to pay for this. Do you understand me? As I look into his eyes, I don't see the man I married. I see a stranger, someone dangerous and unpredictable, and in that moment I make a decision that will change everything. Kenji. I whisper, more to myself than to him. Then, louder enough, I reach for my phone, my hand shaking but my resolve firm. Liam's eyes widen as he realizes what I'm doing. What are you doing? He hisses, put that down, but I'm already dialing, my heart pounding in my chest. As I raise the phone to my ear, I see a flicker of fear in Liam's eyes. Good. It's about time. He felt afraid. 8:50 and 10. What's your emergency? Calm voice answers. I take a deep breath and begin to speak, my voice growing stronger with each word. I need help. My husband just hit me and I'm afraid for my safety and my daughter's. As I continue talking to the operator, I watch Liam's face cycle through a range of emotions, anger, disbelief, and finally a dawning realization of what is done. But it's too late for regrets. Now the wheels are in motion and there's no going back. Luna's birthday party may not have ended the way I imagined, but it's become a different kind of celebration. A celebration of finding my voice, of saying no to abuse, of choosing a better future for myself and my daughter. As I wait for the police to arrive, I silently vow that this is the last birthday, the last day, the last moment that will be ruined by fear and violence. From now on, we're writing a new story, one of strength, resilience, and hope. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely hold the phone. The 850 and 10 operator's voice feels like a lifeline, anchoring me to reality as the world spins around me. I've never been so scared in my life, but beneath the fear, there's a spark of something else. Determination maybe, or just plain old stubbornness. Are you in a safe place right now? The operator asks, her voice calm and steady. I glance at Liam, who's pacing back and forth in our small living room like a caged animal. He keeps running his hands through his hair, muttering under his breath. I've never seen him like this before. I don't know. I answer honestly, he's still here, but he's not. He's not coming near me right now. Oki, I want you to listen carefully. Officers are on their way to your location. If you can, I need you to find a safe place in your home until they arrive. Can you do that for me? I nod, then remember she can't see me. Yes, I think so. Good. Stay on the line with me. Okay, you're doing great. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. The left side of my face is throbbing where Liam hit me, a constant reminder of why I'm doing this. I catch a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror. There's already a red Liam blooming on my cheek. It'll probably bruise. Thought makes me feel sick. From Luna's room, I hear a muffled sob. My heart clenches. She must have heard everything. Some birthday this turned out to be. The police are on their way. I tell Liam, my voice sounding stronger than I feel. He stops pacing and stares at me, his face a mix of anger and disbelief. What the hell is wrong with you? Isabella. He snaps, you're going to drag strangers into our home because of this? For a moment his face softens into something that might be regret, but it's gone so quickly. I'm not sure if I imagined it, then his grabbing his jacket from the back of the couch. If you think I'm waiting here for them, you're out of your mind. He starts toward the door, but then we both hear it. The faint wail of sirens in the distance. Liam freezes his hand on the doorknob. I can see the tension in his shoulders, the slight tremor in his fingers. For the first time tonight, he looks scared. After a moment of indecision, he throws the jacket down and storms back into the living room. You're really doing this? He mutters, more to himself than to me. You're really going to ruin everything. I don't respond. I'm too busy counting the seconds until the police arrive, silently promising myself that this is the last time I'll ever have to be afraid in my own home. The knock on the door makes us both jump. Liam's expression changes in an instant, like his putting on a mask. He adopts an artificially calm demeanor as he moves to answer it. Good evening, officers, he says smoothly. There must be some kind of misunderstanding. I step forward, my arms crossed tightly over my chest. There's no misunderstanding. I say, my voice shaky but determined. Called because he hit me. One of the officers, a tall woman with kind eyes, turns to me. Can you tell us what happened as I recount the events of the evening? The birthday party, the argument over money, the slap that sent me reeling? I can see Liam's facade starting to crack. He keeps trying to interrupt to explain away his actions, but the officers shut him down each time. Sir, please step outside with my partner, the female officer says firmly. We need to speak with both of you separately. As Liam is led outside, the officer turns back to me. Is there anyone else in the house? She asks gently. I nod, feeling tears prick at my eyes. My daughter Luna. It's her birthday today. She's in her room. The officer's expression softens. I'm so sorry this happened on her special day. We'll need to check on her, make sure she's okay. Can you show me to her room? I lead the way down the short hallway, pausing outside Luna's closed door. I can hear her sniffing inside, and my heart breaks all over again. I knock softly. Luna, sweetie, can I come in? There's a pause. Then a small voice answers. Okay. I open the door to find Luna sitting on her bed, hugging her knees to her chest. Her eyes are red and puffy from crying, and she looks so small and fragile that it takes everything in me not to break down right there. Hi, Luna, the officer says, gently crouching down to Luna's eye level. My name is Officer Sarah. I'm here to help make sure you and your mom are safe. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions? Luna nods hesitantly, her eyes darting between me and the officer. as Officer Sarah talks to her asking simple questions about what she heard and how she's feeling. I stand in the doorway, feeling like the worst mother in the world. How did I let things get to this point? Suddenly, there's a commotion from the living room. I hear raised voices. Then a thud. Officer Sarah is on her feet in an instant, her hand going to her radio. "Stay here," she tells us, then rushes out of the room. Luna looks at me, her eyes wide with fear. "Mom, what's happening?" I sit on the bed next to her, pulling her into a tight hug. "I don't know, sweetie, but it's going to be okay. I promise." We sit there for what feels like hours but is probably only a few minutes. I can hear more voices now, unfamiliar ones, then footsteps coming down the hallway. Officer Sarah appears in the doorway, her face serious. "Mrs. Edward, I need you to come with me. Your husband has had some kind of medical episode." My stomach drops. "What do you mean? Is he okay?" She hesitates. "Paramedics are with him now. Seems he may have had a panic attack or something similar. He collapsed in the living room." I stand up, my mind reeling. This can't be happening, not on top of everything else. "Luna, I need you to stay here for a few minutes." "Kaka," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'll be right back," as I follow Officer Sarah back to the living room. I'm hit with a wave of conflicting emotions. Concern for Liam despite everything that's happened, anger that has managed to make TH's situation about him even if it wasn't intentional, and underneath it all a gnawing fear about what this means for our future. The living room is a hive of activity. Paramedics are crouched over Liam, who's lying on the floor, pale and sweaty. He's conscious, but he looks dazed and confused. When he sees me, he reaches out a hand. "Isabella." He croats, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." I stand there, frozen. Not sure how to respond. Part of me wants to go to him to offer comfort. But another part, the part that can still feel the sting of his hand on my cheek, holds me back. One of the paramedics stands up and approaches me. "We're going to need to take him to the hospital for evaluation." He explains his vitals are stable, but given the circumstances, we want to make sure there's nothing more serious going on. I nod nimbly. "What? What do I need to do?" "Officer." Sarah puts a gentle hand on my arm. "You don't need to do anything right now. We'll need to take your statement, but that can wait until tomorrow. If you prefer, do you have someone who can come stay with you tonight?" I think of Amelia, our neighbor. She's always offering to help. And I know she'd come in a heartbeat, but the thought of explaining all this, of having to relive it, it's too much right now. "We'll be okay," I say, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounds. "I just need to be with my daughter." The officer nods, understanding. "All right. We'll have a patrol car drive by periodically tonight just to be safe. And here's my card, call if you need anything day or night." As the paramedics prepare to move Liam, I finally find my voice. "Wait," I say, stepping closer to him. His eyes meet mine, and for a moment I see a flicker of the man I married. Cared, vulnerable, human. "Liam," I say softly. "I don't know what's going to happen next, but I need you to understand something. Yes, it can't go on like this. Things have to change." He nods weakly, tears in his eyes. "I know," he whispers. "I'm sorry, I'll get help. I promise." As they wheel him out, I stand in the middle of our living room, surrounded by the remnants of Luna's birthday party, deflated balloons, crumpled wrapping paper, a cake with one lone candle still standing. Feels like a metaphor for our life. What should have been a joyous occasion turned into something broken and sad. But as I turn to go back to Luna's room to try and salvage what's left of her birthday, I feel something shift inside me, a resolve, a determination I didn't know I had. Whatever happens next, I know one thing for certain: we deserve better than this, and I'm going to make sure we get it. I take a deep breath, squaring my shoulders. It's time to start picking up the pieces of this room, of this day of our lives. It won't be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. And as I start to clean up, I find myself humming softly the tune of Happy Birthday, because despite everything, that's what today still is. The start of a new year. A new chapter. A new us. The night stretches on seemingly endless after the paramedics leave, with Liam taking him to Harbor View Medical Center downtown. I'm left in a daze. Police officers have gone too, leaving behind their cards and promises to check in tomorrow. The silence in the apartment is deafening. I stand in the middle of our living room, surrounded by the aftermath of Luna's party and the chaos that followed. It feels surreal, like I'm watching someone else's life unfold, but the throbbing in my cheek reminds me that this is all too real. Luna's quiet voice breaks through my thoughts. Mom, is Dad going to be okay? I turn to see her standing in the hallway, looking small and scared. My heart breaks all over again. How do I explain this to a 9-year-old? Come here, sweetie, I say, holding out my arms. She runs to me and I hold her tight, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. Dad's not feeling well. The doctors are going to help him get better. Is it because of the fighting? She asks, her voice muffled against my shirt. I close my eyes, fighting back tears. It's complicated, Luna, but I promise you it's not your fault. None of this is your fault. We stand there for a while, just holding each other. Eventually, I guide her back to bed, tucking her in and promising that things will look better in the morning. It's a promise I'm not sure I can keep, but I have to try once. Luna's asleep. I start cleaning up. It's mindless work, but it keeps my hands busy and gives me something to focus on, other than the whirlwind of thoughts in my head. As I'm gathering up the wrapping paper from Luna's presents, my phone buzzes. It's a text from Amelia, our neighbor. Hey, everything okay? Saw the commotion earlier. Let me know if you need anything. I stare at the message, tears welling up in my eyes. Part of me wants to pour everything out to her, to have someone to lean on, but another part, the part that's been keeping up appearances for years, hesitates. What will she think of me, of us? In the end, I send back a simple, rough night talk tomorrow. It's not much, but it's all I can manage right now. As I finish cleaning, my eyes land on Liam's jacket, thrown haphazardly on the couch earlier. Something compels me to pick it up. As I do, I hear a soft thud, something falling from one of the pockets. Curious, I reach down and pick up a small leather-bound notebook. I've never seen it before. For a moment, I hesitate. This feels like an invasion of privacy. But after everything that's happened tonight, do I really owe Mark any privacy? With shaking hands, I open the notebook. First glance, it looks like a simple day planner, but as I flip through the pages, I start to notice things that don't add up. There are names I don't recognize, amounts of money that make my eyes widen, and cryptic notes that make no sense to me. One entry catches my eye: meeting with Jay, $5,000 cash, Nova Trail. My stomach drops. What is this? What has Liam been involved in? Before I can delve deeper, there's a knock at the door. My heart races. Is it Liam, the police? But when I check the peephole, I see Officer Sarah standing there. I open the door, clutching the notebook behind my back. Officer, is everything okay? She gives me a reassuring smile. Everything's fine, Mrs. Edward. I just wanted to check in. Make sure you and your daughter are doing all right. I nod, trying to look more composed than I feel we're managing. Thank you, officer. Sarah's eyes scan the room behind me, and I see her gaze linger on something following her line of sight. I realize she's looking at Liam's bag, half hidden under the couch. I'd forgotten it was there. Mrs. Edward, she says, her tone careful. I hate to ask this, but would you mind if I took a look at that bag? It's just procedure in cases like this. I hesitate for a moment, then nod. What else can I do? As she retrieves the bag, I watch her face, trying to gauge her reaction. Her expression remains neutral as she opens it, but I see her eyebrows raise slightly. Mrs. Edward, she says, her voice low, do you know anything about this? She turns the bag towards me, and I feel the blood drain from my face. Inside are stacks of cash, more money than I've ever seen in one place. But that's not what catches my attention. Nestled among the bills is a passport with Liam's photo but a different name. I don't understand. I stammer, "What is this, officer?" Sarah's expression is grave. "I'm afraid we'll need to investigate further. It looks like your husband may have been involved in something illegal. The world seems to tilt on its axis illegal. Liam, the man I've been married to for 10 years, the father of my child. Doesn't make sense, and yet the notebook in my hand suddenly feels like it's burning a hole in my palm. There's this too," I say, handing over the notebook as Officer Sarah flips through it. Her frown deepens. "Mrs. Edward, I'm going to need to call this in. We may need to ask you some more questions. Is there someone who can come stay with you this time?" I don't hesitate. I nod and reach for my phone. My neighbor Amelia. She can come over as Officer Sarah steps outside to make her call. I text Amelia. Within minutes she's at my door, still in her pajamas, her face etched with concern. "Isabella, what's going on?" she asks, pulling me into a hug, and just like that, the dam breaks. I find myself sobbing into her shoulder. The events of the night pouring out of me in a jumbled mess. Amelia listens, her arm around me, occasionally murmuring words of comfort. When I finally manage to pull myself together, I see that more police have arrived. They're talking in low voices, with Officer Sarah occasionally glancing my way. The notebook and the bag are being carefully placed into evidence bags. Amelia squeezes my hand. "Do you want me to wake up?" "Luna, maybe she could stay at my place tonight." I shake my head. "No. Let her sleep, eh? I don't want to scare her more than she already is." As the night wears on, our small apartment becomes a hive of activity. More officers arrive, asking questions, taking photos, bagging items as evidence. I answer as best I can, but most of their questions leave me bewildered. It's like they're talking about a stranger, not the man I've shared my life with. "Did you ever notice large sums of cash around the house? Were there frequent late-night phone calls or mysterious meetings? Did your husband ever travel for extended periods without explanation?" With each question, I feel a little more of my world crumbling away. How could I have been so blind, so naive? As dawn breaks, casting a pale light through our windows, I find myself sitting on the couch, a cold cup of coffee in my hands. Amelia's dozing in the armchair, having refused to leave me alone. The police have finally gone, leaving behind a card for a detective who will be in touch later. Today I'm exhausted, but sleep feels impossible. My mind keeps replaying memories, searching for clues I might have missed. The late nights at work, the mysterious phone calls, the times when money was tight and then suddenly it wasn't. It all takes on a sinister new meaning. Now Luna's door creaks open and she pads out, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Mom, what's going on? Where's Dad?" I pat the couch beside me and she climbs up, curling into my side. "Dad's still at the hospital, sweetie. There's a lot going on right now that I don't fully understand. But I promise as soon as I do, I'll explain everything." She nods, her small face serious. "Are we going to be okay?" I pull her close, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "Yes, baby, we're going to be okay. It might be tough for a while, but we're strong. We'll get through this together." As I hold my daughter, watching the sun rise over the Seattle skyline, I feel a strange mix of emotions: fear of the unknown future ahead of us, anger at Liam for his betrayal, guilt for not seeing it sooner. But underneath it all, there's something else, a spark of determination, a fierce resolve to protect Luna and myself. No matter what the world as I knew it has collapsed, but from the rubble I'll build something new, something stronger. It won't be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. And as Luna and I sit there watching a new day dawn, I make a silent promise to myself, to my daughter, to our future. We will survive this, we will thrive, and we will never again let anyone make us feel small or afraid. The road ahead is uncertain, filled with questions I'm not sure I want the answers to, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm finally waking up. The scales have fallen from my eyes, and though the truth is painful, it's also liberating. Whatever happens next, I know one thing for certain: I'm done being a passive participant in my own life. It's time to take control to fight for the life Luna and I deserve. As if sensing my resolve, Luna squeezes my hand. I love you. Mom, she says softly. I love you too, sweetie. I reply, my voice thick with emotion more than anything in this world. And in that moment I know that no matter what challenges lie ahead, as long as we have each other, we'll be okay. We're survivors. Luna and I, and survivors thrive the next. Few days pass in a blur of police interviews, hushed phone conversations, and sleepless nights. Luna stays with Amelia most of the time, which is a relief. I don't want her to see me like this, a mess of anxiety and confusion, trying to piece together the shattered remains of what I thought was my life. It's a rainy Tuesday morning when Detective Joshua arrives at our apartment. She's a no-nonsense woman with kind eyes that seem at odds with her stern demeanor. As she settles onto our worn couch, notepad in hand, I brace myself for what's to come. Mrs. Edward. She begins, her voice gentle but firm. I know this is difficult, but I need you to tell me everything you can about your husband's activities over the past few years. Any unusual behavior, unexplained absences, sudden changes in financial situation, anything at all. I take a deep breath, my hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that's more for comfort than caffeine at this point. I don't even know where to start. I admit everything. Seems suspicious now that I look back on it. Detective Joshua nods understanding. Let's start with the basics. How long have you been married? 10 years. I reply, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. We met in college, got married right after graduation. Luna came along a year later as I begin to recount our life together. I find myself seeing everything through a new lens. The late nights at work that I'd attributed to Liam's dedication to his job now seem like obvious lies. The mysterious phone calls, the sudden business trips. All of it takes on a sinister new meaning. There were times when money was tight. I say, my voice barely above a whisper, and then suddenly it wasn't. Liam would say he'd gotten a bonus or a new client, and two believed him. God, I was so stupid. Detective Joshua shakes her head. You weren't stupid. Mrs. Edward, you trusted your husband. That's not a crime, but it feels like one as I continue to talk, divulging every detail I can remember. I feel like I'm betraying the man I thought I knew, but then I remember the sting of his hand on my cheek, the fear in Luna's eyes, and I know I'm doing the right thing. Mrs. Edward, Detective Joshua says after I've finished, her tone cautious. I need to show you something. Are you up for it? I nod, steeling myself. She pulls out a folder from her briefcase and spreads several photographs on the coffee table. My heart stops as I recognize Liam in each one, but his wit. People I've never seen before in places I don't recognize. These were taken over the past 6 months, she explains. Your husband has been under investigation for some time now as part of a larger operation. I lean in, studying the photos. In one, Liam is shaking hands with a man in an expensive suit outside a high-rise building I don't recognize. In another, he's sitting in a dimly lit restaurant, leaning close to a woman with sleek black hair and red lips. The intimacy of their posture makes my stomach churn. Who are these people? I ask, my voice shaking. Detective Joshua points to each photo in turn, explaining in clipped professional tones. The man in the suit is a known money launderer for a drug cartel. The woman in the restaurant is suspected of running a high-end prostitution ring. With each revelation, I feel my world shrinking, closing in around me. Mrs. Edward, she says, her voice softening. I know this is a lot to take in, but I need you to understand the gravity of the situation. Your husband isn't just involved in some minor financial fraud. He's been a key player in a complex network of criminal activities, money laundering, drug trafficking, even human trafficking. It's all connected. The room pins, and for a moment I think I might be sick. Human trafficking. The man I married, the father of my child, involved in something so horrific it doesn't seem possible, and yet the evidence is right in front of me. I had no idea. I whispered, tears streaming down my face. How could I not have known? Detective Joshua reaches out, placing a comforting hand on my arm. These people are professionals at deception. Mrs. Edward. They compartmentalize their lives, keep their criminal activities completely separate from their home life. You couldn't have known, but her words do little to ease the guilt and shame washing over me. I think of all the times I accepted Liam's excuses, all the red flags. I ignored how many people had been hurt because of my willful blindness. What happens now? I ask, wiping my eyes with the back of my hand. We'll need your cooperation as we build our case. She explains any information you can provide, any documents or records you might have access to. Could all be crucial evidence. I nod, a strange sense of resolve settling over me. Whatever you need. I want to help make this right. As Detective Joshua packs up to leave, she pauses at the door. Mrs. Edward, I know this is overwhelming, but you should be proud of yourself. Many people in your situation would choose to look the other way to protect themselves. You're doing the right thing. Her words stay with me long after she's gone. Am I doing the right thing, or am I just saving my own skin? The doubt gnaws at me as I move through the apartment, seeing everything with new eyes, the furniture we bought with money that might have come from drug deals, the photos on the walls of our happy family, all built on lies. I find myself in front of the bedroom closet, staring at Liam's clothes without really thinking about it. I start pulling them out, tossing them onto the bed, suits, ties, shoes. All of it feels tainted now as I'm emptying one of the pockets. My hand closes around something small and hard. It's a key, simple, unredeemable, but I know I've never seen it before. My heart racing, I examine it closely. There's a number engraved on it, 199 and 46, a safety deposit box. Maybe for a moment I consider calling Detective Joshua, but something stops me. This feels personal, like a final piece of the puzzle I need to see for myself. The next morning, after dropping Luna off at school, I find myself outside Seattle First Bank. My palms are sweaty. As I approach the teller, the key clutched tightly in my hand. I need to access a safety deposit box. I say, trying to keep my voice steady. Number 199 and 46. The teller nods, asking for ID. I hand over my driver's license, holding my breath. Will it be enough? Does Liam have some other name on the account? But to my surprise, the teller simply nods and leads me to a private room. Moments later, I'm alone with a metal box that holds God knows what secrets. With shaking hands, I insert the key and turn it. The lock clicks open and I lift the lid inside. I find stacks of cash, more than I've ever seen in my life. There are also passports. American, Canadian, even a British one, all with Liam's photo but different names. But what catches my eye is a small leather-bound journal. I open it and my heart nearly stops. It's a detailed account of Mars' activities over the past 6 years. Names, dates, amounts of money. It's all there in black and white. As I flip through the pages, I feel like I'm reading about a stranger. The man described in these pages is cold, calculating, willing to do anything for money and power. Tears blur my vision as I reach the final entry, dated just a few days before Luna's birthday party. It's different from the rest, more personal. I can't keep living this double life. It reads, Isabella and Luna deserve better, but how can I walk away from all of this? The money, the power, it's addictive. But if I don't find a way out soon, I'll lose everything that really matters. I close the journal, feeling hollow. Even in his moment of doubt, Liam had chosen his criminal life over us. He'd had chances to walk away, to come clean, and he hadn't taken them. As I leave the bank, the journal and a few select documents tucked safely in my purse, I feel a strange sense of calm settle over me. Truth has come crashing down, shattering everything I thought I knew about my life. But from the rubble I can see the faint outline of a path forward. I pull out my phone and dial Detective Joshua's number. I have something you need to see, I say when she answers, and I'm ready to tell you everything. The weight of the journal in my purse feels heavy, but my steps are light. As I walk to my car for the first time in days, I feel like I can breathe. The truth may be ugly, painful, and life-altering, but it's also freeing. I can't change the past or undo the harm that's been done, but I can choose how I move forward. As I drive home, I make a silent promise to Luna. We'll get through this. We'll build a new life, one based on honesty and integrity. And no matter what happens, she'll always know that her mom was strong enough to face the truth. No matter how hard it was, the road ahead won't be easy. There will be legal battles, financial struggles, and the emotional fallout of Liam's betrayal to deal with. But as I pull into our driveway, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Hope whatever comes next. I know I'm strong enough to face it. The truth has set me free, and I'm ready to embrace whatever the future holds. The days following my discovery at the bank blur together in a whirlwind of police interviews, legal consultations, and sleepless nights. Detective Joshua becomes a constant presence in our lives, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos swirling around us. It's been a week since Mars' collapse, and I still haven't seen him. He's been transferred from the hospital to a secure facility, his medical condition apparently stable but complicated by the ongoing investigation. Part of me wants to confront him to demand answers face to face. But another part, a stronger part, knows I'm not ready for that yet. Luna, bless her heart, is handling things better than I could have hoped. She's confused and hurt, of course, but she's also resilient in a way that amazes me. I've tried to be as honest with her as I can without burdening her with the full, ugly truth. Dad did some bad things, I explained to her one night as we sat on her bed surrounded by her stuffed animals. He made choices that hurt people, and now he has to face the consequences. Her little face scrunched up in thought, like when I took Sarah's bracelet at school and had to sit in time out. I couldn't help but laugh even as my heart ached. Something like that, sweetie, but much, much bigger as the investigation deepens. I find myself struggling to reconcile the Liam I knew with the man being revealed in police reports and witness testimonies. Detective Joshua keeps me updated, each new piece of information like a punch to the gut. We've linked your husband to at least 3 major drug trafficking operations, she tells me one afternoon, her voice grim. He was instrumental in laundering money through a network of shell companies and offshore accounts. I nod nimbly, trying to process the information. It still feels surreal, like I'm watching a crime drama on TV rather than living it. There's more, she continues, and I brace myself. We've uncovered evidence of his involvement in a human trafficking ring. Young women, brought into the country under false pretenses, forced into, well, you can imagine. I feel the bile rise in my throat. Human trafficking. It's a term I've heard on the news, always with a sense of distant horror. But to think that Liam, my Liam, could be involved in something so heinous, it's almost too much to bear. How I whisper, more to myself than to Detective Joshua. How could he do these things? How could I not have known? She reaches out her hand, warm on my arm. Mrs. Edward. Isabella. You need to understand something. Men like your husband, they're masters of compartmentalize. And they can be loving fathers and husbands at home and ruthless criminals in their other life. You couldn't have known, but her words do little to ease the guilt gnawing at me. I think of all the times Liam came home late, claiming he was working. Was he out destroying lives instead? How many families had been torn apart while I was blissfully unaware, making dinner and helping Luna with her homework? The investigation spreads like wildfire, consuming everything in its path. Our assets are frozen, our bank accounts scrutinized. I find myself answering questions about financial transactions I never even knew existed. The modest life we led seems to have been just the tip of an iceberg of wealth and corruption. One morning, I wake up to find our quiet street lined with news vans. Porters shout questions as I try to take Yemi to school, their cameras flashing incessantly. It's overwhelming, suffocating. Mrs. Edward, did you know about your husband's criminal activities? How does it feel to be married to a crime lord? What do you say to the families of the victims? I hurry Luna into the car, my hand shielding her face from the cameras. As we drive away, I can see the confusion and fear in her eyes. Why are those people angry at us? Mom? She asks, her voice small. I grip the steering wheel tighter, fighting back tears. They're not angry at us. Sweetie, they want to know about what happened with Dad, but it's not our job to tell them anything. The school principal is understanding when I explain the situation, promising to keep an eye on Luna and shield her from any unwanted attention. As I leave the school, I feel a moment of panic. Where do I go now? Home, with its memories and lingering police presence, feels suffocating. Work is out of the question. I've been put on indefinite leave while the investigation is ongoing. I find myself driving aimlessly, eventually ending up at a small park overlooking the Puget Sound. The gray waters stretch out before me, matching my mood. I sit on a bench watching ferries crisscross the sound and try to make sense of my new reality. My phone buzzes, another message from Liam's mother. She's been calling non-stop since the news broke, alternating between disbelief, anger, and pleas for me to stand by her son. I've been avoiding her calls, unsure of what to say. How do you tell someone that their child, the person they raised and loved, is capable of such terrible things? As I sit there, lost in thought, a woman approaches. She's around my age with kind eyes and a hesitant smile. I'm sorry to bother you, she says. But are you? Isabella Edward. I tense, ready for more accusations or probing questions. But her next words catch me off guard. I just wanted to say I'm so sorry for what you're going through and thank you for being brave enough to come forward. She walks away before I can respond, leaving me stunned. It's the first time since this whole ordeal began that someone has approached me with kindness rather than suspicion or hunger for gossip. Her words stay with me as I drive home. A small beacon of light in the darkness that's enveloped my life. Maybe, just maybe, not everyone sees me as an accomplice or a fool. Back at home, I find Detective Joshua waiting for me. Her face is grim and I brace myself for more bad news. We've completed our initial review of the documents you provided, she says, once we're seated in the living room. Isabella, I don't know how to say this, but the extent of your husband's activities is far greater than we initially thought. She lays out a complex web of criminal enterprises spanning multiple countries and involving millions of dollars. Liam, it seems, wasn't just a participant in these operations. He was a key architect, using his financial acumen to build intricate money laundering schemes. We've also uncovered evidence of bribery. She continues, local officials, customs agents, even a judge or three. Your husband was very good at greasing the right wheels to keep his operations running smoothly. I listen in stunned silence, trying to reconcile this information with the man. I thought I knew the Liam who helped Luna with her math homework, who surprised me with flowers on our anniversary, who cried at his father's funeral. How could that man be the same person? Detective Joshua is describing what happens now? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. We're building a case for federal prosecution, she explains. With the evidence we have, including your testimony and the documents you provided, we're looking at multiple life sentences, the words echo in my head. I think of Luna growing up without her father, of Liam, spending the rest of his days behind bars. It's a future I never could have imagined, and yet here we are. There's one more thing. Detective Joshua says, her tone softening. We've reason to believe that your husband's associates might try to make contact with you. They may see you as a way to get to Liam or to recover assets we haven't yet seized. A chill runs down my spine. Are we in danger? She nods gravely. We're arranging for protective custody for you and Luna. It's just a precaution. But given the scale of the operations we've uncovered, we can't take any chances. As she outlines the details of the protection plan, I feel a strange sense of calm settle over me. This is my life now: police protection, federal investigations, a future uncertain in every way except for its complete departure from the life I thought I had. But as I think of the woman in the park, of Luna's resilience, of my own strength in coming forward, I realize something will survive this. It won't be easy, and the road ahead is long and fraught with challenges. But we'll make it through that night. As I tuck Luna into bed, she looks up at me with those big, trusting eyes. Mom, she says, her voice serious. Are we going to be okay? I smile, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. Yes, sweetie, I say. And for the first time, I truly believe it. We're going to be just fine. As I turn out her light and head to my own room, I feel a weight lift from my shoulders. The truth about Liam has been unveiled, and while it's painful and ugly, it's also liberating. No more lies, no more secrets. From here on out, we face the world with honesty and courage. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, packing for our move to a safe house, more interviews with prosecutors, the daunting task of rebuilding our lives from scratch. But for now, in this quiet moment, I allow myself to feel a glimmer of hope. The hidden life of Liam Edward has been exposed, but in its wake, a new life for Luna and me is just beginning to take shape. The safe house feels nothing like home. It's a small, nondescript apartment in a quiet suburb of Portland, Oregon. The walls are bare, the furniture generic, but as I watch Luna explore our new temporary living space, her eyes wide with curiosity, I feel a spark of hope. This blank slate, devoid of memories and untouched by Liam's deception, might be exactly what we need. It's been 3 months since that fateful night when my world turned upside down, 3 months of legal battles, press harassment, and sleepless nights, but also 3 months of discovering a strength I never knew I had. Mom, can I put my drawings on the fridge? Luna asks, holding up a handful of colorful papers. I smile, feeling a warmth spread through my chest, of course. Sweetie, this is our home now, even if it's just for a little while. As Luna busiest herself with her artwork, I unpack our meager belongings. We weren't able to bring much. Most of our possessions are still tied up in the ongoing investigation, but in a way, it's liberating, a fresh start unburdened by the weight of our past life. The next few weeks pass in a blur of adjustments and new routines. Luna starts at a new school and I begin working remotely for a small accounting firm. It's entry-level work far below my qualifications, but it's honest work. After years of unknowingly living off ill-gotten gains, the modest paychecks feel clean-earned. Our protective detail, a pair of no-nonsense FBI agents named Theodore and Alexander, become a constant presence in our lives. They're professional and kind, especially to Luna, but their presence is a constant reminder of the danger we might still be in. Any news? I ask Agent Theodore one evening after Luna has gone to bed. She shakes her head. Nothing concrete, but we have reason to believe some of your husband's former associates are still looking for assets we haven't seized. You did the right thing staying in protective custody. I nod, a familiar mix of fear and resolve settling in my stomach. It's a feeling I've grown accustomed to over the past months. Despite the challenges life goes on, Luna makes new friends at school, her resilience never ceasing to amaze me. She still asks about Liam sometimes, her voice small and uncertain. When is Dad coming home? She asked one night as I tucked her into bed. I sat on the edge of her bed, choosing my words carefully. Sweetie, remember how we talked about Dad doing some bad things? She nodded solemnly. Well, 'cause of those things, Dad has to stay away for a very long time. He can't come home. Her lower lip trembled. But doesn't he love us anymore? My heart broke for her. Oh, Luna, I'm sure your dad loves you very much, but sometimes, even when people love us, they make choices that mean they can't be with us. It's not your fault, and it doesn't mean he doesn't love you. As I held her while she cried, I felt a fierce protective wash over me. I couldn't shield her from the pain of losing her father, but I could make damn sure she knew she was loved and supported. Weeks turn into months, and slowly we begin to find our footing in this new life. I start attending a support group for families affected by white-collar crime. First, I'm hesitant to share, feeling like an imposter after all. Mars crimes went far beyond cooking the books or insider trading. But as I listen to the stories of other spouses and children, I realize we're all grappling with the same feelings of betrayal, shame, and uncertainty. Slowly I begin to open up, and the relief is palpable. I just keep wondering how I could have been so blind. I admit during one session, my voice shaky, There were signs looking back, but I ignored them all. Olivia, a woman whose husband embezzled millions from his company, reaches out and squeezes my hand. "We see what we want to see," she says gently, especially when it comes to the people we love. Her words stay with me, helping to ease the burden of guilt I've been carrying. I start to realize that Liam's choices were his own. I may have been naive, may have ignored red flags, but I wasn't responsible for his actions. As spring turns to summer, we settle into a new normal. Luna's nightmares become less frequent, and I find myself smiling more easily. We start exploring our new city, finding favorite parks and ice cream shops. It's not the life I had planned, but it's ours and we're making it work. One sunny Sunday, as we're walking through a local farmer's liamet, I hear someone call my name. I freeze old instincts, kicking in, ready to grab Luna and run. But when I turn, I see Amelia, our old neighbor from Seattle. "Isabella. Oh my God, it is you." She rushes over, pulling me into a tight hug. "We've been so worried about you too," as we catch up over coffee, Amelia, filling me in on the neighborhood gossip and cooing over how much Luna has grown. I feel a weight from my shoulders. This connection to our old life, untainted by Mars crimes, feels like a gift. "You know," Amelia says as we're saying goodbye, "a lot of people back home are rooting for you. You're so brave, Isabella. What you did. Coming forward like that. It's incredible." Her words stick with me, a reminder that not everyone sees me as Liam's foolish, complicit wife. Some people understand the courage it took to speak up, to choose truth over comfort. As summer fades into fall, we face a new challenge. Liam's trial is set to begin, and I'm called to testify. The thought of seeing him again, of reliving everything in a courtroom full of strangers, fills me with dread. The night before I'm set to fly back to Seattle, I find Luna in her room, quietly packing a small backpack. "What are you doing, sweetie?" I ask, puzzled. She looks up at me, her face serious. "I'm packing to go with you. You shouldn't have to face Dad alone." Tears spring to my eyes as I kneel beside her. "Oh, Luna, thank you, but this is something I need to do on my own. Your job is to stay here and be safe. Can you do that for me?" She nods solemnly, then throws her arms around my neck. "You're the bravest person I know. M.O.M. She whispers her words. "Give me strength." As I walk into the courtroom the next day, Liam is there, looking smaller somehow in his prison jumpsuit. Our eyes meet for a brief moment and I see a flicker of something, regret, shame, I'm not sure, and I realize it doesn't matter. His feelings are no longer my burden to bear. As I take the stand, my voice is clear and steady. I tell the truth, all of it, the good times and the bad, the red flags I ignored the moment I knew I had to come forward. It's painful, laying out the ruins of our life for all to see, but it's also cathartic, like lancing a wound to let it heal when it's over. As I'm leaving the courthouse, a young woman approaches me. She's nervous, fidgeting with her sleeve. "Mrs. Edward," she says hesitantly. "I was one of the girls in the trafficking ring." My heart stops as she continues. "I just wanted to say thank you, your testimony. The evidence you provided, it's helping put these people away. You saved lives." I'm speechless. Overwhelmed by the weight of her words, all I can do is nod, tears streaming down my face as she squeezes my hand and walks away. That night, back in our little apartment in Portland, I hold Luna close as we video chat with my parents. They've been supportive throughout this ordeal. A pillar of strength I never knew I needed. "You did good, Kiddo," my dad says, his voice gruff with emotion. "We're so proud of you," as we say our good nights and I tuck Luna into bed. I feel a sense of peace settle over me. The road ahead is still long and uncertain. Trial will drag on and there will be appeals and more legal battles. Our life will never be what it was. But as I look at Luna peaceful in sleep, I know we're going to be okay. We've weathered the storm, faced the truth, and come out stronger. This new chapter of our lives is just beginning, and for the first time in a long time I'm excited to see what it holds. I may have lost the life I thought I had, but I've gained something far more valuable, a true understanding of my own strength, the unwavering love of my daughter, and the knowledge that even in the darkest times there's always hope for a new beginning. As I get ready for bed, I pause by the window, looking out at the twinkling lights of Portland. This city, once strange and intimidating, now feels like a promise of new possibilities. We may be starting over, but we're doing it on our own terms, with our heads held high. Tomorrow is a new day, another step in our journey, and whatever it brings, I know we'll face it together. Luna and I, stronger and braver than ever. My story ends here. If you feel that this story is meaningful and brings useful lessons, please like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next videos.